All wars are civil wars because all men are brothers. Discouragement is simply the despair of wounded self-love. The wind of God is always blowing, but you must hoist your sail. It is not enough to like good books. You must be a good book yourself. Had we not faults of our own, we should take less pleasure in complaining of others. God is merciful, showing us our true hideousness only in proportion to the courage He gives us to bear the sight. Be content with doing calmly the little which depends upon yourself, and let all else be to you as if it were not. Nothing will make us so charitable and tender to the faults of others as by self-examination thoroughly to know our own. We can often do more for other men by trying to correct our own faults than by trying to correct theirs. The history of the world suggests that without love of God there is little likelihood of a love for man that does not become corrupt. God's love, however, is full of consideration, patience, and tenderness. It leads people out of their weakness and sin one step at a time. If the crowns of all the kingdoms of the empire were laid down at my feet in exchange for my books and my love of reading, I would spurn them all. Those who correct others should watch for the Holy Spirit to go ahead of them and touch a person's heart. Learn to imitate him who reproves gently. All wars are civil wars because all men are brothers. Each one owes infinitely more to the human race than to the particular country in which he was born. Children are very nice observers, and they will often perceive our slightest defects. In general, those who govern children forgive nothing in them, but everything in themselves. Cut all this activity short. Silence yourself inwardly. Come back to your Lord often. You will get more accomplished this way. It is more important to listen to God than to your own thoughts. Despondency is not a state of humility. On the contrary, it is the vexation and despair of a cowardly pride. Nothing is worse. Whether we fall, we must only think of rising again and going on course. There is practically nothing that men do not prefer to God. A tiresome detail of business, an occupation utterly pernicious to health, the employment of time in ways one does not dare to mention, anything rather than God. Peace does not dwell in outward things but within the soul. We may preserve it in the midst of the bitterest pain if our will remains firm and submissive. Peace in this life springs from acquiescence to, not an exemption from, suffering. Little faults become great, and even monstrous in our eyes, in proportion as the pure light of God increases in us. Just as the sun in rising reveals the true dimensions of objects which were dimly and confusedly discovered during the night. Accustom yourself to unreasonableness and injustice. Abide in peace in the presence of God who sees all these evils more clearly than you do, and who permits them. Be content with doing with calmness the little which depends upon yourself, and let all else be to you as if it were naught. Is it possible to know you, dear God, and not love you? Your beauty, strength, grandeur, power, and goodness, your generosity, magnificence, and perfection of every kind, these are far beyond what any created being could understand. And what touches me in the depths of my heart is that you love me. Silence promotes the presence of God, prevents many harsh and proud words, and suppresses many dangers in the way of ridiculing or harshly judging our neighbors. If you are faithful in keeping silence when it is not necessary to speak, God will preserve you from evil when it is right for you to talk. What then are we afraid of? Can we have too much of God? Is it a misfortune to be freed from the heavy yoke of the world and to bear the light burden of Jesus Christ? Do we fear to be too happy, too much deliver from ourselves, from the caprices of pride, the violence of our passions, and the tyranny of this deceitful world? Give yourself up to his plans. Be led wherever he wills by his providence. Beware how you seek aid from man when God forbids it. Men can only give you what he gives them for you. Why should you be troubled that you can no longer drink from the aqueduct when you are led to the perennial spring itself from which its waters are derived? I've noticed that you always want to drop one thing to hurry on to the next. Yet each task takes you far too much time to finish because you dissect everything far too much. You are not slow, just long-winded. You want to say everything that has the slightest connection to the subject at hand. This always takes too long and causes you to rush from one thing to another.